Sometimes we find ourselves in a moment when we feel that thousands of signals are coming to us, which seem to be shouting to us that the universe is trying to give us a valuable message, one that is perfectly aligned with what is happening to you. This feeling is more common than you think, and the truth is, you might not be wrong. Indeed, the universe often seeks to reach our conscious side to help us understand aspects of what we experience that we simply do not assimilate and seem to need to internalize. Although sometimes we choose to consider that we walk this path alone, the truth is that we are never alone, and support never fails us. Because even if we don't have another human being by our side, there are always beings of light, elevated souls, and of course, energies from the universe that never abandon us. This is hopeful for many because sometimes the paths we are going through are not so easy to assume, and things seem to get uphill, even reaching the point of discouraging us and wanting to simply disappear. But the truth is, since we came to this world, we have support for our soul that works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, never ceasing to receive the energy and support necessary to keep moving forward. Some of the channels that the universe uses can be really special and curious, and among them we find feathers, as they can appear at very specific moments without a logical explanation. But as nothing is a coincidence, and there is always a greater energy moving behind the apparent, today we are going to explore what this symbol linked to the spiritual world wants to shout at us. From the shape to the quantity and the color, everything has a profound meaning that we will explore today, with the aim of our journey being that you can expand your mind so that you understand the language that the universe handles, and from there take advantage of every tiny piece of information that comes from those elevated energies. So let yourself be flooded with the light and hope that these messages and this channel bring to you. Number 1. A single white feather. As if it were a scene or a perfectly coordinated panorama for us, there are occasions when a white feather comes from the sky and settles near us, seeming to want to shout something to us, only that from the moment we experience it, we may not have the ability to understand. But if you have seen this happen to someone, or even experienced it yourself, today you need to know that it is a message of comfort and hope, as well as a clear sign that your divine guides are with you to help you get through the situation you are going through. According to what is known, this feather can come as a message from the spiritual world, telling us not to give up because we are safe, and can continue walking with the certainty that we are not alone in the midst of what we are experiencing. If we receive this beautiful message through this feather, we have to understand that elevated forces are taking care of us and our journey. So even if fear or sadness overwhelms us, we are still invited to walk with the confidence that we will come out of this stretch of our journey well and quickly. Moreover, the colour white has a beautiful connotation, as this colour speaks to us of purity and light. That's why when it reaches us in that form, free of stains or other impurities, it presages the kind of energies that seek to give us encouragement. This is the faithful guarantee that beyond our earthly world, there are beings encouraging us to continue our journey. Because no matter how stormy what is happening may be, there is actually the certainty that we will triumph and emerge wiser and more capable. Moments like these have the ability to help us evolve, and that's what these guides and beings of light want us to see, which can be family members not present, loved ones who have migrated to another plane, or even celestial beings. In many cultures, a white feather is a clear symbol of hope, which may be lacking in us, but which we are encouraged to have, even when the outside world tries to convince us that there is no way to rise above what is happening. Many others say that it is a blessing, which not only falls upon our journey and existence, but also reaches our conscious side from the appearance of this white feather. According to the records we have, people who receive this blessed message tend to be experiencing a moment of deep despair, loss, or even defeat, so they are quickly comforted by the universe. Number 2. Finding a feather inside our home. When we don't have a pet with feathers, let alone entry of these species, it is quite atypical to find feathers, especially if they are in places like drawers or closed-in closets. But beyond the strange, you must open yourself to the idea that there is a message coming through this sighting. At this point, I want you to open up to the opportunity to believe, not only that you have a guide backing you up in what you experience, but also that even that intimate space can be faithfully watched over so that nothing harmful reaches you, your possessions, or your loved ones. Let's remember that there is not a moment in our prayers when we don't ask for every place we walk through to be guarded and for us not to be touched by the ill intentions or forces that roam in this earthly plane, a prayer that can be answered by our spirit guides, who can also confirm their presence to you. And as you might imagine, this feather is a message from those guardians who inhabit our spaces, who always accompany us and want you to understand that there is no room for fear in your life, because they are guarding that intimate and important space. For some people, more than talking about the protection that covers your home, this feather found in that space of our home indicates that we are not alone, and that the presence found there is aligned with the high vibrational frequencies. As already mentioned, if there are pets or a transit of feathered creatures that could justify the presence of that feather in the space, there is nothing extraordinary, but in the absence of those elements, and the more enclosed the space where we find it, the more we face an event that may even lead a skeptical person to consider many aspects of our life. Some are especially optimistic and argue that a feather found in this way can only be telling us that an angel has visited our home and left us a message of love and hope so that we know about their visit to our place of intimacy. Whatever the origin of the feather, what is true is that it presents itself as an introduction to that energy that has come to your home, and as a reminder that what moves in this space is of light and support. When you see this feather, you must be aware that there are presences in your house aligning with the light, and that they are drawn to you, to that vibration you are managing and how light your space is, which opens the doors to receive everything it has to offer, and to be a safe place not only for you, but for those beings who inject you with extra strength from a spiritual level. Number 3. A feather falling from the sky. More than simply being a consequence of a bird's passing, a feather falling from the sky to us can have a profound message for us, which necessarily aligns with our feelings and what we are experiencing on the earthly plane. Although it may seem like a scene from a movie, the truth is that many people over the years have claimed to have received this spiritual symbol, which comes from the sky, gently falling into our hands or at our feet. It's quite peculiar to observe this, and it leads us to think that the universe is trying to make us stop for a moment to contemplate the messages it wants to convey to us, and that these elevated beings can only communicate through this type of events. Nothing is coincidental in our universe, so we must necessarily sit down to explore the meaning of this feather, which according to different schools of thought tells us that celestial beings, of light and situated in higher dimensions, are with us amidst what we experience, comforting us in the face of the changes that occur. And a common denominator of this event arises when analysing the situations that involve the life of the person receiving this message, seeing that they are usually facing a very important moment in their lives. It's as if in one way or another, approval is being given to us for the determinations we are going to make, the actions to undertake, or the things we have let go of in our lives. But if this person still doesn't know how to face what has been presented to them, this feather can mean not to despair, because the necessary guides will come to them, being a strong call to listen to our intuition. Sometimes people ignore the voice within them, immersing themselves in what they experience in the physical plane, which is why this message may be appearing, so that we pay attention again to what our inner selves tell us. The sensation that accompanies the arrival of this feather is not only comforting, but also one of security and even familiarity, as if suddenly everything ceased to be negative, and only the good remained from each experience and the certainty that we will rise from what we have lived. But without a doubt, The people who mostly experience this wonderful message are those who face a loss, a moment of deep sadness, doubt, or even despair. With this, we realize that indeed this feather seeks to comfort us, and it calls us not to falter, but to be attentive to those signals that the universe itself gives us about how we should navigate on Earth. Even the darkest moments bring us a message of faith, reinvention, and strength, which we must learn to internalize. Otherwise, we will not be able to break free from this vicious circle. Number 4. The appearance of feathers in our dreams. Over the years, we have been compelled to explore the subject of dreams, as they seem to present themselves not only as periods of rest from our daily lives, but also as a moment when, while our body rests, our soul can embark on that journey between dimensions, managing to interact and extract knowledge from elevated realms. This calls us to think that the things we see in our dreams are more than simple random images arising from the stimuli we receive during the course of our waking hours. And right in the midst of these dreams, we encounter those that involve feathers, which are not so frequent but undoubtedly hold a very special meaning, one that we are going to share below. According to experts in the field, those who dream of feathers appearing around them, whether falling from the sky or scattered on the ground, in one way or another are receiving a message of renewal. That is, they are being shown the growth that is taking place within them. It's as if the universe and all these sources of wisdom intervening in the growth of that person confirm to them that what they are absorbing is nothing but true knowledge, which is why light is flooding every tiny space, both inside and out. This is a clear push to continue along the same path of learning and refinement that we are following, as it is leading us right to where we should be, so we should rejoice and allow what we are experiencing to continue flowing within us. However, others take this as a message of comfort in the face of difficult situations, as if it were indicated to us that the guidance and help we may be requiring will come from the highest, so we must be attentive to the signals that are sent to us. Some recall dreaming of collecting these feathers, which turned out to be white, which may mean that you are about to embark on a process of growth from which everything that adds up to your life comes from these elevated energies, aligning with light and purity. Remember that this is also a reminder that your spirit guides and those angels who support you are leaving behind a trail of knowledge, which you are able to identify and collect with love. But evaluating the colour, size, and place of origin of these feathers can also give us clues about what the universe is telling us, and we still don't know how to decipher, for example. If these feathers are very large and from animals like the eagle, what it is trying to tell us is that we are about to achieve great goals successfully and harmoniously with the universe, so we are celebrated and this message of affirmation is given to us. Number 5. When they come accompanied by a specific aroma. In the midst of these feather appearance events, we have to consider not only the way they arrive or limit ourselves to understanding what they make us feel, but it is also necessary to explore the other factors that accompany them. In this sense, it is necessary to explore if we can see them accompanied by a specific smell, because even fragrances are symbols of the message they seek to give us, being able to transport our minds to situations, people, or places. But the aroma emanating from the feather can not only trigger a memory, but can also remind us of a loved one, for example, a loved one who, although no longer with us physically, tells us that even without a physical body, they accompany us in spirit on our journey, guiding and protecting us. However, the wide range of fragrances that can accompany this feather can also be associated with deep themes, such as floral scents, which, when accompanied by this feather, represent love, compassion, joy, and new beginnings. The moments when a feather with this scent can appear to us are diverse, but they have been especially associated with miraculous moments when a person finds the love of their life, or even manages to build that long-awaited family. But even that is not a limitation when it comes to talking about the scents and messages that accompany feathers, as they can also be accompanied by stronger herbal scents, as if they were old natural remedies, which has a very special connotation. In these cases, it is necessary to evaluate the things a person may be going through, how complex they are, or even what kind of energies they are absorbing from their surroundings and the people around them. And a feather with this scent can be a strong omen that our being needs cleansing, but not on a physical level, but oriented towards the energetic and spiritual side, which may be contaminated by different factors. For these types of situations that call us to take care of ourselves and our light, the type of feathers that appear tend not to be white, but are stained with intense colours that symbolically indicate the type of energies that are contaminating us. Faced with such an event, it is important that we open ourselves to tune in with our intuition and our inner voice, which is the only one that can give us answers regarding what is throwing us off balance. Something else that helps is the mind's ability to relate events and smells, so we can look for some similarity between this scent and something that happened to us and did not present itself so positively. It's truly difficult to give an exact diagnosis for these moments, since scented feathers usually bring very personal messages tied to each individual's journey. Therefore, we must look carefully within ourselves to definitively determine what we should internalize in our lives at the present moment. Number 6. When they appear after a loss. Death is a completely normal aspect of our human condition, one we should not fear because, as we know, we are composed of energy, and that same energy is what makes us who we are. Moreover, energy is indestructible, so it's important to accept that we are indeed indestructible, and that the soul that comprises us continues on a journey after the physical body perishes. Instead of viewing this with fear, we should see it as a beautiful part of our lives, one we cannot avoid but can embrace with integrity and great faith that what comes next is right and perfect for our evolution. However, understanding all this does not make that moment when we experience the loss of a loved one any easier, whether it's a family member or friend, because resigning ourselves to the fact that we won't perceive their presence in that familiar physical body is undoubtedly one of the most painful moments. The closer the person is to you, the more tormenting the situation of their departure from this physical plane to advance to that new place their soul occupies will become, and that moment will seem like it will never end. But we cannot let ourselves be engulfed in the negativity of this experience, and that's what the appearance of this feather calls us to reflect upon. We must not let a moment of pain like this bring us down, and the more suffering we accumulate, the more likely it becomes that we receive a beautiful gift. But what do these feathers appearing at a perfect moment signify? Feathers can not only tell us about the good and bad things we are doing, but they also provide us with feelings of comfort in the face of things we cannot control, such as losses. It's as if out of nowhere, with the appearance of that feather, a sense of peace also arrived, as if something were embracing us and telling us that everything will be okay. This is one of the greatest and most cherished gifts the universe bestows upon us, inviting us to understand that the energy and soul of that person continue to exist and have moved to another plane to remain there, outside of which they will continue to be connected to us, but in a new form. Death is something we have to understand far beyond the earthly form in which it presents itself. So in the reluctance of our being, relief can be found from celestial beings, or even from the loved one themselves, who, in the midst of their transition, seeks to see us at peace with what is happening. There are many ways we can encounter that feather, but finding it right after facing a loss results in a beautiful message of hope and love. Number 7. Feathers with very specific markings. Regularly, we can appreciate that feathers have certain patterns, stripes, or marks that we take as regular and that speak to us of the species of bird that has left behind this little messenger. But at other times, this time we refer to much more symbolic marks that don't seem to want to tell us something. These patterns can be so exact that we feel they reflect numbers, letters, and other things. They can also resemble logos or signs that link this feather to events and things in our lives. This inevitably leads us to reflect on what that moment of our lives has foreshadowed or implies. But more importantly, it invites us to contemplate those wonderful beings of light that follow us and provide total support to our existence. In these cases, only the person can decipher this complex puzzle, from which we can see how everything begins to take on a powerful form and reaches our exact being. There is a legend related to this type of feathers that tells of a man who once received a feather like this, and upon seeing the strangeness of its shapes, he decided to take it home. As the days passed, the intrigue grew because it seemed to have no animal origin, since he couldn't find a species with plumage in that design. He began to look at it daily, until magically those shapes seemed to resemble letters and numbers, which began to invade the mind of this person the more he looked at the feather. And these signals themselves became addresses, names, dates, and other data that spoke to him of events that were unfolding in his life at the moment he received this celestial message. This deeply moved the man, who, upon understanding that it was a message from elevated energies, chose to share his experience with others, seeking to pay attention to his path. It's important to understand things beyond what is superficially seen, and to accept that there are elevated energies and beings that show us wonderful paths from details and symbols as small as a feather. If we can align ourselves with intuition and our inner voice, we will be able to decipher with greater certainty what they are trying to show us, and those messages that come from light can be valuable to us. Observe very well, but don't do it solely from sight, but from the soul, which reveals to you the true form and importance of these subtle messages that the universe leaves in your path. Number 8. When it appears at the same time, we are having an important reflection. In addition to being a beautiful message, this event also constitutes an exact and perfect synchronicity that invites us to realize that the universe is present even in our thoughts and seeks to eradicate the negative while strengthening the positive. As we navigate the waters of our thoughts, we encounter many interesting details that can generate doubts or even invite us to dive a little deeper, because only from our capacity to do so could we find an answer to what occupies us. Although others may not have the ability to understand and perceive these moments, the universe does, and with our vibration at that moment, we are attracting everything that is necessary for us to end up taking the right path. In other words, we are pulling in the answers and support that our being needs. Even without asking, the universe makes itself present to tell us that we are not alone, and that every minimal determination we make will be supported by the universe if we align ourselves with our intuition and inner voice. The universe and those guides that accompany us reach a level of perfection so great that it is not necessary for us to shout for help. Our vibration already lets them know that, and without hesitation, they make themselves present to lead us by the hand through what we live or what we are going to face. Many people claim that in those moments when they have found themselves facing important determinations, in one way or another, they have been able to feel the support of those guides and the energies of the universe, which present themselves forcefully but can also speak to us in more rudimentary and subtle ways, as is the case with these feathers. An object as simple as this, which aligns in time and form with our thoughts, can actually be the confirmation that what we feel as the right way may indeed be the most appropriate way to proceed. Let's remember that the colour and size of the feather tell us a lot, and if that feather is entirely white, or at least mostly white, what it wants to indicate is that the beings of light who support us will be with us along that stretch, and that the way we proceed is correct, even if some may not be pleased with the decision. But if that feather appears in a dark colour, perhaps what is being warned is that it is not the best way to proceed, and we are being invited to pause for a moment and reconsider the methods and everything surrounding the situation to be addressed or the determination that must be made. They can also appear with the patterns we previously mentioned, so the message can be diverse and somewhat broad. So as long as time favours us, it's worth sitting down to think about it more deeply and even contemplate the code that was sent to us to unlock new knowledge. Although it's our strong desire to quickly move on from what occupies our thoughts, it's crucial that we truly focus on absorbing the knowledge and lesson that the experience provides, so that we can successfully elevate ourselves from this situation. And amidst that, the universe supports us, along with those beings of light, love, and compassion, providing us with the necessary guidance. All that's needed is to pay attention and open ourselves to understanding the hidden language behind every tiny detail. Number 9. When they appear during moments of meditation or prayer. Let's remember that both meditation and prayer are profound moments of connection with the energies elevated from within us, with the universe, with our Creator, and all the celestial forces arranged to assist us on our journey. Despite the complexity of this connection being often misunderstood by people, it ultimately becomes a conduit that opens to transmit marvelous messages, guiding our soul through the spaces and knowledge necessary. In this sense, it's important to highlight that these channels are not unidirectional, but represent a two-way street through which information is sent and received from the deepest point of our being, entering into a state of elevation and connection both with ourselves and with everything that emanates from the light. In the framework of these sacred moments, we can end up discussing how we are approached by knowledge, ideas, and perfectly elaborated plans, so that our soul walks through certain spaces, or moments in particular, in addition to receiving that blessed promise and a preview of what the universe holds for us. During these instances, we find ourselves in deep connection with our being and with everything that composes it, while being in the presence of what the universe wants to communicate to us, even if what we receive generates doubts. But those doubts can be clarified by the arrival of one of these feathers, which in any of its forms may be indicating that we should emphasize the aspect we are addressing at the moment. Deep contemplation of what is being touched upon in the moment is the best way to honor that divine message we are receiving. And not only that, but for those who doubt their ability to align with their guides and those higher sources of knowledge, the arrival of a feather may be telling them that around them are those blessed presences seeking to help them and support them at every moment of their existence. The joy that envelops the souls seeking to understand and feel deeply this connection at the moment of having this confirmation is a force that can impart an extra push to our journey. Therefore, we should not remain with the idea that it is a coincidence, because, as we all know, that does not exist in this universe. It's time to expand our minds and see the importance of our existence to the universe, which is why it attends to us, listens to us, and confirms that it is on our side in the midst of that perfect journey we are undertaking. We are neither alone, nor will we ever be, and this feather that arrives in the moment of meditation or prayer confirms it for us. Number 10. When it is found after a strong argument. It is important to understand that due to the distinctiveness of all our souls, we may find ourselves in moments where our level of consciousness and perspective on life clash strongly with that of a loved one, and more than a game of interests, this becomes a competition to make the other understand what we envision. It is in these moments that we truly feel hopeless and even worried about being on the verge of seeing our relationship with another being collapse imminently. But the truth is that often, even if the conflict is quite strong, the universe looks into our hearts and remains confident of reconciliation. But seeing the distress and imbalance that this has caused in us, the universe, through our guides, seeks to calm those negative sensations by sending us a hopeful message, one that arrives through this feather and is understood by few. A feather found after an argument is a harbinger of reconciliation, of understanding, and that no matter how difficult things may seem, everything will have a gentle resolution. Moreover, if that feather is white, for many it is a synonym of complete peace, one that will be established after this little storm. This also tells us about the intention of the other to overcome these issues that have led them to distance themselves, but that in no way has the capacity to break the bond that unites them, even if it is not romantic, but rather one of friendship or family. And it's not a requirement that the argument be with a partner, because this can be appreciated in all types of relationships, even in a work one, where this feather tells us that a middle ground and a prompt solution to this friction will be found. We are called to remain calm and open, not only to dialogue again without losing our temper, but also to receive those words that the other person has to share, because in the midst of great discomfort, some even close themselves off to a new approach. This bond is guarded by elevated energies, and what you experience is by no means the end of what is lived or the shared path with that person. It is just a turning point that calls us to yield a little and allow the other person to do the same. Remember that no one leaves your life without having completed that program of knowledge and mutual growth that the universe designed, and their souls agreed upon even before descending to Earth for the first time. And as we observe all that a simple feather can tell us, we understand that the communication channels of the universe are vast, and even the smallest thing has a very special connotation, meaning it holds within it a precious message, one that we must open ourselves to receive and make the most of. And if you've ever experienced the surprising arrival of a feather in your life, I'd like you to head to the comments section and tell me how it happened. I'd also like you to share this video with someone who is receiving this blessed message and doesn't yet understand it. Help them become aware in the here and now. If you enjoyed what was discussed today, please give me a like, and for more content like this, subscribe, as every day we will open a new window to knowledge, and it would be great to explore through it with your company. For now, we say goodbye, but we'll soon meet again in this space of light and blessings.